The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council shone with 1,000 stars reflected in its crystal dome. 200 alien leaders sat in curved rows, their eyes fixed on the large blue-green planet displayed on the main screen. Admiral Vorks stepped to the center of the room. His gray scales caught the light as he moved. He stood tall with 4 arms crossed over his armored chest. "Honorable members of the Council," Vorks said, his voice deep and confident, "I present to you the planet Earth." The image zoomed in to show cities, oceans, and green lands. "A perfect target," Vorks continued, "rich in metals, water, and minerals. The native species has only reached basic space travel. They still fight among themselves for land and resources." Elder Talia, the oldest member of the council, leaned forward. Her skin glowed with a soft blue light as she spoke. "Admiral Vorks, have you studied Earth's history?" Her voice was gentle but firm. Laughter spread through the hall. Many council members shook their heads or made sounds of amusement. "What history?" asked Vorks with a smirk. "They have existed for a mere blink of time. They poison their own air and water. They cannot even agree on simple rules between their nations." He pressed a button, and the screen showed Earth's military vehicles, tanks, planes, and ships. Their weapons are primitive. They still use chemical explosives and basic nuclear devices. My fleet could take the planet in less than 1 Earth week. More laughter filled the room. At the back of the hall, records keeper Milo tapped quietly on his datapad. His 6 fingers moved quickly as he searched through old files. His round eyes grew wider as he read. "Admiral," called out a voice from the 3rd row. "What resources will this invasion require?" Vorks stood straighter. "Minimal. I need only 1 battle fleet, 300 ships. We will take their major cities first. The humans will surrender quickly." Elder Talia raised her hand again. "The files show 3 other species have tried to conquer Earth in the past 1,000 years. None returned. This time, no one laughed. Those were small, poorly planned missions," Vorks said quickly. "My plan is perfect. We have studied Earth for 50 years. We know their weaknesses." Milo walked slowly to Elder Talia and showed her his datapad. Her eyes narrowed as she read. "The records show humans are unusually creative when threatened," she said. "They adapt quickly." Vorks waved one of his 4 hands dismissively. "All species fight when cornered. But humans have no unified army, no planet-wide defense system. They are divided by languages, beliefs, and borders." The council leader, a tall being with skin like polished metal, stood up. "We will vote now. Those in favor of approving Admiral Vorks's invasion of Earth." Lights flashed across the hall as members voted. The screen showed the results. 178 approved, 22 against. "The invasion is approved," the council leader announced. "Admiral Vorks, you have permission to proceed. The council expects regular reports." As the meeting ended, Milo approached Elder Talia. "I found something strange in the hidden archives," he whispered. "Reports about human behavior during wars." Elder Talia nodded slowly. "I know. They become most dangerous when victory seems impossible." "Should we warn the Admiral?" Milo asked. Elder Talia looked at the screen where Earth still rotated slowly. He wouldn't listen, but prepare the observation room. The Council should witness what happens when you cornered humans. As Admiral Vorks left the hall with his officers, making plans for glory and conquest, Elder Talia and Milo exchanged worried looks. They both knew a terrible mistake had just been approved. And soon, the entire Galactic Council would watch in horror as that mistake unfolded. Captain Jack Reynolds of the United Earth Defense Force was drinking his morning coffee when the sky turned purple. "Sir," said Lisa, his communications officer, her voice strangely calm. "You need to see this." Jack walked to the main window of the military base. His coffee mug crashed to the floor as he stared upward. Hundreds of black ships, shaped like giant arrowheads, moved slowly through the clouds. "Get the president on the line," he ordered, then paused. and my family. All across Earth, people stopped and looked up. In New York, crowds filled the streets. In Tokyo, trains stopped running as drivers stared at the sky. In small villages and big cities, 7 billion humans watched as aliens arrived. In orbit, Admiral Vorks smiled as he watched the planet below. "Begin the announcement," he ordered. His second-in-command, Officer Dren, nodded. "Yes, sir. Broadcasting now in all Earth languages." In the Galactic Council's observation room, 17 alien representatives gathered around large screens. Elder Talia sat quietly in the corner while Milo set up the recording equipment. "The betting pool is open," announced a tall green alien. "How long will Earth last?" "I bet 50 credits on 3 Earth days," said Ambassador Dorn, placing his money in the pot. "Too generous," laughed another alien. "I say 12 hours. On Earth, Admiral Vorks's deep voice boomed from the sky, speaking in every human language at once. "People of Earth, your planet is now under the protection and control of the Krull Empire. Resistance is." A bright flash came from somewhere in North America. A small missile shot upward and hit the bottom of Vorks's flagship. "What was that?" Vorks demanded. "A primitive missile, Admiral," Officer Dren replied. "It damaged our communication array." The announcement was cut off. In the observation room, the aliens fell silent. "Did they just?" gasped one. "Attack before the announcement was even finished," another whispered. Elder Talia sighed. "And so it begins." On Earth, military bases around the world sprang into action. Despite years of fighting each other, human nations quickly began to coordinate. "All nations, this is General Williams of the United States. We are tracking 300 alien ships in Earth orbit. They have declared hostile intent. We propose immediate joint action." Within 1 hour, missiles from 7 different countries launched toward the Krull ships. In his command room, Vorks laughed as the primitive weapons bounced off his ship's shields. "See," he told his officers, "their weapons are useless. Begin landing our troops." 5,000 Krull soldiers landed outside major cities. They marched forward in perfect formation, their gray armor gleaming, their weapons ready. In the council observation room, the aliens watched with interest. "Now we'll see how quickly humans surrender," said Ambassador Dorn. But surrender didn't come. Instead, the humans did something unexpected. They disappeared. "Where did they go?" asked Vorks, staring at empty streets. "Where are their armies?" Then the first shot came, not from soldiers, but from a farmhouse window. Then another from behind a car. Then hundreds more from windows, rooftops, and sewers. "They're everywhere and nowhere," reported a confused Krull commander. "They don't fight like a proper army." In the observation room, Elder Talia pointed to a human news broadcast they had intercepted. A reporter was speaking urgently. "Citizens are reminded that the emergency invasion protocols are now active. Remember your training. Hide, record, and resist. This is not a drill." "Training?" asked Ambassador Dorn. "What training?" Milo pulled up human entertainment files on a side screen, movies, books, and games about alien invasions going back 100 years. "They'd been preparing for this," Milo said quietly. "Not with real weapons, but in their minds. Every human has grown up thinking about how to fight aliens." Elder Talia nodded gravely. "Admiral Vorks has made a terrible mistake." As night fell on Earth, the Krull soldiers reported their first casualties. And in homes across the planet, humans gathered weapons, made plans, and prepared to defend their world. The invasion had only just begun. Day 3 of the invasion was not going as planned for the Krull Empire. "Our ships are being targeted by their own satellites," Commander Lux shouted into his communication device. His scout ship spun wildly as its navigation systems failed. In Earth orbit, the Krull fleet discovered that humans had quickly reprogrammed their weather and communication satellites to interfere with alien technology. On the ground, things were even worse. Krull soldiers struggled in Earth's varied environments. Their armor, designed for the cold of space, made them slow in jungle and desert areas. Their advanced weapons sometimes failed in thunderstorms or near power plants. But the biggest problem was the humans themselves. "They don't fight like normal enemies," reported Field Captain Gorn. "They don't meet us in open battle. They hit us and run away. They set traps. They attack our supply lines instead of our main forces." In the Amazon rainforest, a crawl patrol disappeared completely. In Russia, tanks got stuck in simple but clever traps. In Australia, crawl soldiers found their communication systems jammed by equipment in ordinary homes. In the Galactic Council's observation chamber, the mood had changed from amusement to concern. "Look at this," said Ambassador Dorn, pointing to a screen. It showed an ordinary farmer in a rural area using his tractor and some farm chemicals to disable a crawl tank. The farmer was no soldier, but he fought with the confidence of someone who knew exactly what to do. "These humans," Dorn said quietly, "they're not fighting like a species facing extinction. They're fighting like they've been waiting for this." Milo, the records keeper, pulled up more data. "Look at their history," he said, showing thousands of books, movies, and games about alien invasions. "They've been practicing for this moment for generations, in their minds." Elder Talia nodded. "Imagination is a powerful training ground." On Earth, the crawl discovered another problem: human adaptability. In his command ship, Admiral Vorks received disturbing reports. "The humans have captured some of our weapons," Officer Dren said, "and they're already figuring out how to use them." "Impossible," Vorks snapped. "Our technology is too advanced." "Sir, look." Dren showed him a video of human soldiers using captured crawl energy rifles. The humans had not only figured out how to fire the weapons, but had already started modifying them. In a university lab in Japan, scientists worked day and night studying a damaged crawl ship engine. "The principles are similar to our theoretical models," said Professor Tanaka. "We just never had the right materials to build it." In a military base in Europe, engineers were already designing defenses against crawl weapons. "Their energy beams operate on a frequency we can block," explained a scientist to a group of generals. "We just need to mass-produce these shields." In the council observation room, the aliens watched with growing alarm. "How are they adapting so quickly?" asked a council member. Milo pulled up more human history. "Look at their war history," he said. "When these humans face a superior enemy, they don't give up, they innovate. They've done it against each other for thousands of years." Meanwhile, humans had discovered another way to fight back: psychological warfare. Crawl communication channels suddenly filled with human music, loud, jarring sounds that hurt crawl hearing. Between songs, humans broadcast the sounds of predators from the crawl homeworld. "How do they know what scares us?" demanded a crawl officer. The answer was simple but surprising: human children. Young humans had noticed how crawl soldiers jumped at certain sounds and moved away from certain colors. They shared these observations online, and within hours, humans worldwide were using this knowledge against the invaders. "This is not a conventional war," Elder Talia said to the council. "The crawl expected to fight soldiers. Instead, they're fighting an entire species that turns everything into a weapon. Their knowledge, their creativity, even their entertainment." As the first week of invasion ended, Admiral Vorks made a difficult decision: send a message to the homeworld. He told Officer Dren, "Request reinforcements." The message was intercepted by a 16-year-old human hacker named Tom. The resistance was just getting started. Tom sat in his bedroom, surrounded by computer screens. The 16-year-old hacker had dark circles under his eyes from 3 days without proper sleep. "I'm in," he whispered, as the strange alien code on his screen finally made sense. He had just decoded Admiral Vorks's message to the crawl homeworld. Tom's fingers flew across his keyboard as he sent the information to military leaders around the world. Within hours, human forces knew exactly where crawl supply lines were weakest and where reinforcements would arrive. In the Galactic Council observation chamber, the aliens watched with growing disbelief. "How did a child break their encryption?" asked Ambassador Dorn. Milo, checking his data files, answered quietly. "Human children play code-breaking games for fun. They call them puzzles." On Earth, the tide was turning in other ways too. Scientists in 12 countries had been working together, sharing information openly across borders that had once divided them. In a laboratory in Brazil, Dr. Martins held up a modified weapon. "We've reversed the energy flow," she explained to military officials on a video call. "The crawl shields now absorb our energy blasts and grow weaker with each hit." Similar breakthroughs happened across the planet. In South Korea, engineers created jammers that confused crawl targeting systems. In Egypt, scientists found a way to detect cloaked crawl ships using ordinary radio equipment. "This is impossible," Admiral Vork said, staring at reports of human advancements. "Their technology was primitive just 2 weeks ago." Officer Dren looked worried. "Sir, they're learning from our own technology, and they're changing it in ways we never considered." The humans had another advantage: their diverse thinking. Where crawl soldiers followed strict training and procedures, humans improvised constantly. In Canada, a group of hockey players used their skills to slide under crawl tanks and plant explosives. In Kenya, wildlife rangers tracked crawl patrols through dense forests, using skills developed to protect animals from poachers. In the council chamber, Elder Talia pointed to a world map showing human resistance. "Notice something. The humans aren't fighting as separate countries anymore. They've united." It was true. Old enemies now shared resources and strategies. Scientists who once competed now worked together. The crawl had achieved what centuries of human diplomacy could not: worldwide cooperation. Then came the biggest shock. A crawl communication center in Australia was captured intact. Inside, human technicians found something valuable: star maps showing the location of the crawl homeworld. Tom, now working with military intelligence, helped break into the crawl navigation systems. "All their ships used the same route home," he explained to generals. "If we can capture just one of their ships." The plan moved quickly. Around the world, human forces prepared for coordinated attacks on damaged crawl ships. In the observation chamber, the council members watched in stunned silence. "They're not just defending anymore," Milo noted. "They're planning to take the fight to crawl space." Meanwhile, Admiral Vorks faced another unexpected problem. Human psychological warfare had reached new levels. Crawl communication channels now played the most annoying sounds humans could create: high-pitched commercial jingles, children's songs played on repeat, and bizarre noises that made crawl soldiers twitch uncontrollably. "Make it stop," begged a crawl commander, as Baby Shark played for the 40th consecutive time through his ship's speakers. In his command ship, Admiral Vorks made a devastating realization. His forces had lost control of the situation. The supposedly primitive humans had adapted faster than any species the crawl had ever encountered. For the first time in his long military career, Vorks considered the unthinkable: defeat. In the council chamber, Elder Telia stood up. "We must intervene," she announced. "This is no longer just about Earth. If humans learn to use crawl technology and navigate to other worlds." The implication was clear: a species that could adapt this quickly, that turned everything, even defeat, into a weapon, might soon become a force the entire galaxy would need to reckon with. The Council voted unanimously to send mediators to Earth. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council was the largest in 50 years. Representatives from over 300 species filled the Grand Hall, all drawn by news of the crawl's failing invasion. Elder Telia stood at the center podium, her blue glow dimmer than usual from exhaustion. "Fellow council members," she began, "we face an unprecedented situation. The crawl invasion of Earth has violated 17 protocols of interstellar engagement, but more importantly, it has revealed something unexpected about humans." The main screen showed scenes from Earth, Humans building large versions of crawl weapons, modifying crawl ships, and working with captured alien technology as if they had used it for years. How are they advancing so quickly? Demanded the representative from the Mox Federation. Milo stepped forward with his datapad. Humans have a unique learning method. They use something called open source collaboration. When one human discovers something, they share it freely with others. Thousands of minds then improve it simultaneously. On a side screen, Admiral Vorks's face appeared. Once proud and confident, he now looked tired and afraid. "Honorable Council," Vorks said, his voice cracking, "I formally request emergency extraction of all crawl forces from Earth." Gasps and murmurs filled the hall. "The humans," Vorks continued, "they don't fight like a rational species. Our psychologists can't understand them. They become more effective when victory seems impossible." He paused, looking over his shoulder as if afraid of being overheard. "And they keep targeting our officers while shouting about something called Independence Day. We believe it's some kind of battle code." In the back of the hall, Milo quietly searched his database. "It's actually a human entertainment film about defeating aliens," he whispered to Elder Telia. "They're copying tactics from their stories." The council leader raised his metallic hands for silence. "We must vote immediately. Do we intervene in this conflict?" The vote was unanimous. The council would send mediators to Earth, not to help the humans, but to save what remained of the Crawl invasion force. "We must also decide how to approach these humans," said Ambassador Dorn. "They will soon have working crawl ships. They could reach other worlds." Fear rippled through the hall. A species that could defeat the mighty Crawl in just 3 weeks could be a terrible threat to the entire galaxy. "Perhaps," suggested a representative from the peaceful Lumen, "we should offer them membership in the council. Show them we come in peace." The idea was met with nervous agreement. Meanwhile on Earth, humans had just achieved another breakthrough. In a hidden bunker beneath the ruins of a university, Dr. Martens and her team had successfully activated a crawl ship's faster-than-light drive. "The principles are surprisingly similar to our theoretical models," she explained to military leaders on a secure video call. "We just never had the right materials." General Williams nodded on screen. "How soon until we can use it?" "A week, maybe less," Dr. Martens replied. "We already have teams building more. In homes and labs across the planet, humans had begun planning for something they had only dreamed about, traveling to the stars. But unlike the peaceful exploration they had imagined, their first journey might be to take the fight to the Crawl homeworld. In orbit around Earth, strange new ships appeared, sleek vessels bearing the symbols of the Galactic Council. Unlike the Crawl ships, these made no aggressive moves. Instead, they broadcast a simple message in all human languages. "People of Earth, we represent the Galactic Council, an alliance of peaceful species. The Crawl Empire acted without our approval. We request a meeting with Earth's leaders to discuss peace." In the White House Situation Room, world leaders gathered on screens. "Is this another trick?" asked the President of India. General Williams shook his head. "Our scientists confirm these are different ships, different technology." "We should meet them," said the Chinese president, "but not from a position of weakness." The others nodded in agreement. Earth would hear what the aliens had to say. But this time, humans would set the terms. The Galactic Council was about to discover that making peace with humans might be even harder than conquering them. The International Space Station had been transformed. Engineers had worked day and night, adding sections built from salvaged Crawl technology. The once small station was now 3 times larger and protected by energy shields. This was where Earth's leaders chose to meet the Galactic Council. General Maria Rivera walked through the new metal corridors, her steps firm and confident. As Earth's appointed chief negotiator, she carried the hopes of 7 billion humans on her shoulders. "Remember," she told her team of diplomats, scientists, and military advisors, "we are not approaching this as the weaker party. We have captured 47 Crawl ships intact and have their star maps." Tom, The teenage hacker, now serving as Earth's technology advisor, nodded as he checked data on his tablet. And we've cracked their communication systems completely. Inside the main conference room, representatives from the Galactic Council waited. Elder Talia sat at the center, her blue glow soft in the station's artificial light. Beside her sat Ambassador Dorn and 3 other alien diplomats. General Rivera entered with her team and took her seat without showing any surprise at the aliens' strange appearances. "Thank you for agreeing to this meeting," Elder Talia began. "We wish to resolve this unfortunate conflict." General Rivera's face remained neutral. "The Crawl invaded our planet without warning. They attacked our cities and killed our people. What resolution does the Council propose?" Elder Talia spoke carefully. "The Crawl acted without proper Council approval. We offer Earth protection under the Galactic Council. Your species would maintain autonomy, but come under our guidance as you develop further." The room fell silent. Then, to the aliens' confusion, several human representatives began to laugh. General Rivera smiled, but her eyes remained serious. "I think you misunderstand our position here. We're not looking for protection." She nodded to Tom, who displayed images on the main screen. Captured Crawl ships being studied in hangars around the world, new weapons being mass-produced, and the first human-built faster-than-light engine being tested. In 3 weeks, Rivera continued, humans have reverse-engineered much of the Crawl technology. We now have coordinates for every major Crawl military base, including their homeworld. She slid a datapad across the table. On it was a countdown clock. This is how long the Crawl have to remove every ship and soldier from Earth space. After that, we start using their own ships against them. Ambassador Dorn's eyes widened. "You wouldn't attack their homeworld. That would violate the same rules they violated when they attacked us." Rivera asked calmly. "We prefer peace, but we are prepared for war if necessary." In the Council's observation chamber, hundreds of alien representatives watched the negotiation with stunned faces. "They wouldn't actually attack the Crawl homeworld," whispered a council member. "Would they?" Milo, checking historical records, nodded grimly. "Based on Earth's history, yes, they would." Back in the negotiation room, Elder Talia considered her options carefully. The Council had severely underestimated these humans. In just 3 weeks, they had gone from a planet-bound species to one that could potentially threaten the Crawl Empire, one of the galaxy's oldest powers. "What terms would Earth accept for peace?" she asked finally. General Rivera's answer was clear and firm. First, immediate withdrawal of all Crawl forces. Second, reparations for damage caused. Third, formal recognition of Earth as a sovereign power with the right to develop space travel and defenses. Fourth, access to the Council's technology database so we can ensure no one tries this again. Elder Talia exchanged glances with the other Council representatives. These were not the demands of a defeated planet, but of an emerging power that knew its strength. "We will take your terms to the full Council," Elder Talia said. As the meeting ended, Ambassador Dorn approached General Rivera privately. "You must understand," he said quietly. "Many species will fear what humans might become with advanced technology. Your kind adapts weapons of war too quickly." Rivera looked him directly in the eyes. "Then they should make sure we have no reason to use them." The message was clear. Humanity would join the galactic community, but on their terms, not as a subject species, but as equals. And the galaxy would never be the same. 6 months after what humans now called the First Contact War, the first official Earth delegation arrived at the Galactic Council headquarters. The Great Hall fell silent as 5 humans entered. General Rivera led the group, followed by 2 scientists, a diplomat, and young Tom, now Earth's chief technology advisor despite being only 17 years old. The humans wore simple blue uniforms with a new symbol, Earth surrounded by stars, and walked with confidence through the massive hall. Many alien representatives leaned forward to get a better look at the species that had defeated the mighty Crawl Empire. The Earth diplomat, Dr. Lee, stepped to the central podium. His voice was calm and clear as it echoed through the hall. Humanity thanks the Council for recognizing Earth's sovereignty and our right to self-defense, he began. We look forward to peaceful cultural and technological exchange with all peaceful species. The words were friendly, but every being in the hall understood the unspoken reality. In just 6 months, Earth had changed dramatically. Using crawl technology as a starting point, humans had built their own small fleet of starships. They had already improved on many crawl designs, making their engines faster and weapons more efficient. Earth's orbit now had defense stations that could detect and track ships light years away. Most concerning to some council members, humans had begun exploring nearby star systems, setting up small research bases and mining operations. They moved through space with the confidence of a species that had been among the stars for centuries, not months. After the formal speeches ended, Elder Talia met privately with the human delegation. You have achieved in 6 months what takes most species decades, she said. The council is impressed and concerned. General Rivera smiled slightly. We understand those concerns, but remember, we didn't start this conflict. The crawl did, and they have paid a heavy price. Elder Talia noted. Their empire is now half its former size. Many of their colonies have requested independence. Tom, looking at data on his tablet, nodded. They should have researched Earth better before attacking. We've spent our entire history fighting and preparing for threats, even imaginary ones. Later, Elder Talia addressed the full council after the human delegation departed. Let this be a lesson to all species who seek conquest rather than cooperation, she said gravely. Humanity's greatest strength isn't their adaptability or their technology, though both are remarkable. It's their experience with conflict itself. She displayed images from Earth's history, humans fighting countless wars against each other, developing weapons and strategies, building and rebuilding their civilization through disasters both natural and self-made. They've spent thousands of years fighting against themselves, Elder Talia continued. They developed weapons, strategies, and a mental resilience that we space-faring species, long united, have lost. Ambassador Dorn nodded thoughtfully. They turned their greatest weakness, their division and constant conflict, into their greatest strength. In the years that followed, a new phrase entered galactic language. Whenever a species proposed a foolish or dangerous plan, others would ask, "Are you going to invade Earth next?" It became shorthand for "You've made a terrible mistake." The Krull Empire, once feared throughout the galaxy, became a cautionary tale taught to young beings everywhere. The mighty empire that chose the wrong planet to invade. And humanity. They continued to surprise the galaxy. Though capable of terrifying warfare when threatened, they proved to be curious explorers, eager traders, and creative problem solvers. They formed alliances with peaceful species and established clear boundaries with potential threats. As Elder Talia had predicted in a private council session, humans make better friends than enemies. And thankfully for us all, they'd prefer the former, unless you give them no choice. 20 years after the invasion, humans had become full members of the Galactic Council. Their representatives brought new ideas and perspectives to the ancient institution. And on their home planet, children now looked up at the stars not with fear of invasion, but with dreams of exploration. The galaxy would never be the same, and most agreed it was better for it. *The End*.